Hey, peacemakers, it's the Soul Koach coming at you with another episode. So sit back and let's find your peace of mind. This episode of Enjoying Entrepreneurship is about a very special entrepreneur, Tiffany Davis. And Tiffany didn't have dreams and aspirations of owning her own business as a child. Tiffany's life changed after college, and she was diagnosed with breast cancer and then after leukemia. So listen to this episode to see how she chose entrepreneurship to keep fulfilling her dreams.
So, who is Tiffany Davis? Tiffany Davis, she's a daughter, sister, auntie, I'm a friend. I consider myself an advocate for cancer. I'm 32, and I was born and raised in Miami. I consider myself brave, strong, and I have a lot of fight. I think I'm a risk taker, and I'm a real strong believer in faith.
Okay, so who is Tiffspirational?
So Tiffspirational, it was birthed through my social media. So once I started sharing my journey about breast cancer as a young African-American woman, of course, under the age of 45, I received so much support from people I didn't know. I received a lot of messages, from people who had been affected, but not necessarily shared their story through social media. I noticed that most people keep that to themselves. And so I just use my social media just to share my journey. So I thought of the name change, just being an inspiration to those that are going through, hardships. So I use that Instagram to share tips and natural health hacks, things that I'm incorporating into my diet while dealing with cancer, and just being very open about my journey. So I talk about, little fashion finds that you can do, while you're going through cancer to make you, just feel normal again. So that's where Tiffspirational started.
Okay, so let's go on to back when you were growing up. What was Tiffany like growing up?
Growing up, I am my mom's only child, and I was the first grandchild on my mom's side. So first grandkids get spoiled a lot. So I think I had a pretty good life growing up, and I'm my dad's oldest child of three. So both parents involved. I had a lot of family support. I was a little overachiever. I graduated top 10% of my high school class. But for the most part, I was shy into myself. I had friends, but a very close circle of friends. So that's pretty much how life was.
Okay, and yes, I can definitely agree with. Well, I can relate to you because I am the oldest child on both of my parents' sides.
Mhm.
And I am my both grandmothers' first grandchild. So that is a whole different thing. You spoiled
exactly.
to a whole nother level.
Exactly. So you spoiled.
What your mama say no to? Grandma definitely. That's automatic. So, you grew up in Miami, and you have 2 degrees from the fantastic FAMU, a bachelor's in healthcare science and a master's in healthcare administration. What was your experience like as a Rattler? And were you involved on campus in any organizations?
So I think attending FAMU was one of the best decisions that I've ever made. My college experience was everything that I didn't imagine. It was actually a last option for me to attend FAMU. Like, I applied to all of the colleges in Florida, and I got accepted to all of them. And, like, FAMU was the very last one that I applied to. But I'm just glad that I went. It's like a whole different experience being at the HBCU. And like I said, I'm my mom's only child, and I didn't want to leave her, so I didn't want to go too far away. But she encouraged me to attend, and I'm so thankful that she did, because college, that FAMU experience had a major impact on who I am today. I think being away from home allowed me to gain a lot of independence, and I created a lot of meaningful relationships. Most of my best friends I met while I was in Tallahassee, and, you know, like, they are my family now. Like, I really don't talk to that many people from high school, but, like, my college friends, like, they are my family. I was a part of a few clubs here and there, but and I helped, like, on campaign teams, but I was really focused on school, because when I first went off to school, I was a pharmacy major, and it was very, very demanding. And so I was, you know, spending a lot of time studying. But FAMU taught me, like, to not take no for an answer and to definitely stand up for what you believe in.
Yeah, that's one thing I can say. Like, even the family members and the friends that I do know who goes there, I see it as a whole different experience. Like,
yes, it's like no other.
I feel like if you don't go to FAMU, it's just like people don't deal with you from FAMU. Like, oh, FAMU or nothing. But with college, it was an amazing 4 years of your life. What did you learn from it?
I learned to keep pressing when things don't work out, how you intend them to go. Like I said, I started off as a pharmacy major, and I went to Tallahassee to get a degree, and I was determined to do that. So even with me failing out of pharmacy school, I still pushed, you know, and got my bachelor's degree, and then I went forward to get a master's degree. It taught me that, you know, college is my network, like people who I've gone to college with, that's my network. I actually got to know myself, what I liked, what I didn't like. It gave me a whole different outlook on life, because I come from a fast-paced city. Not everyone is friendly, and being in Tallahassee, it's just like people are so nice. I don't know what it is. People are so nice, and it made me more approachable. And I just think I had a complete mind shift, because I was exposed to different things and people from all over the world.
I think that people in Tallahassee are more nice and homely and approachable because they're close to Georgia. Us Georgians, we are the Southern Belles, and we're so nice.
Yes, like, it was completely different. I mean, I remember, like, and the funny thing is, I ended up linking up with people that were from here. Ironically, like, a lot of people from Miami or South Florida attend FAMU, and it was just, like, weird for us. We would see people and they would smile at us, and we were like, what are y'all smiling for? Like, you know, like, just because the whole stiffness of the air in Miami, it's like, it's just different. But it allowed us to grow, you know, just to see how other people are living. Like, everybody is not dealing with the hustle and bustle of life, you know?
Yeah, I feel like the way you felt about people in Miami is how I felt about people in the North when I first moved here, from Savannah to Maryland. I was like, oh, my God, everybody is, like, mean. I would be at school saying, good morning to all of my teachers, the janitor, little critters crawling around the school, and everybody just looked the other way, not even say good morning and stuff. And I had to get used to that. And I'm like, okay. Yeah, this is definitely not something I'm not used to, but I don't want to be mean to people because that's not in me. So
Right.
I was like, something got to change. So I just kept saying, hey to everybody in the mornings, and everybody caught on. I'm going to just speak to her because she leave me alone. So speaking of change, when did you notice your life changing?
So I moved. So I lived in Tallahassee for a while. So I spent most of my adulthood in Tallahassee, or like from teenage up into like young adult. And I had just moved home in 2013, and I noticed a lump under my arm, and um, I know about breast cancer because I have a grandmother who had the diagnosis, and I just kind of in my head knew that it probably wasn't something good, and it took me a minute to actually say something to my mom because I'm my mom's only child, and I didn't want her to get worked up, over anything. So that's kind of like when things started to change. Um, Being diagnosed with breast cancer has definitely evolved me as a person. I'm definitely not the same person I am that I was before because I didn't know like how it affected young women. Like I said, my grandmother had breast cancer, and all I know is that she passed away from complications with the diagnosis. And the face of breast cancer is definitely not a young African American woman. It's usually like a Caucasian, older woman. But after sharing a little bit of my journey, it allowed me to connect to the quote-unquote cancer community. So I was able to meet a lot of women by being vocal, African American women who were experiencing the same things that I was going through. It allowed me to connect with them and find resources that I probably would never, been exposed to had I not been sharing my journey, had I not been vocal about what I was dealing with. I remember like just meeting one lady, and she introduced me to like an advocate program. She was very active in with sharing, the journey of an African American woman, and she was under the age of 45. So had I kept my diagnosis to myself, I feel like I probably wouldn't be able to thrive through it like I have. Even, like meeting people through social media, being able to offer them tips that doctors don't give, like doing research beyond modern medicine. So I'm just really thankful for the power of social media in a sense because it allows me to connect with so many people in the world. And like I have people supporting me that I've never met, even like with you reaching out, like that was a shock to me. Like I've never been asked to do like a podcast. So it was very interesting, and it's a way to spread awareness and let people know that they're not the only ones that are going through it.
Yeah, and I was shocked myself, like seeing you, like someone so young, like you're the same age as like my aunt, my mom's sister, and my dad's youngest sister, and so it's like, how does somebody so young have breast cancer? It's like it's not something I'm used to seeing. So I was like, I definitely, with me following you, seeing your journey, seeing you post your videos when you're in the hospital and stuff, and being so open about it, I was like, you can definitely help someone else. That's like when I went through my miscarriage and I started doing my own research and being vocal about what happened to me. I started educating people on like how frequent miscarriage is happening. It happens to 1 in 4 people, and so I'm like, we as people, human beings, as a Black community, we definitely have to educate people our people
Mhm.
on things that are going on, because everybody is just like, oh, so and so got breast cancer, blah blah blah,
Yeah.
and don't want to just, or so and so they were sick, and they want to say everybody's sick. Just put
Mhm.
that common term. Oh, she was sick. She was sick, and
Yeah.
you don't know, they just passed away, and
Mhm.
just don't want to go into details. And it's like, how many times is this going to happen? And where we could have
We're not
prevented
talking
it, we
about
could
it.
have been
Yeah.
proactive and taught people about it, and saying, okay, well, we're going to incorporate this into conversations that we can have with our families, instead of talking about, oh, what happened on BET and
Yeah.
MTV and all this kind of stuff. Let's talk about something real.
Yeah, I was saying too recently that it's, like you said, it's time to start having these conversations, like your family history. Like I said, like I knew my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, but I didn't know that so many other people, like on my dad's side, was affected, and that my aunts, have had issues with their breasts, or my cousins have had issues with their breasts. So it's definitely a conversation piece. And being that, you don't know who you are related to, honestly, because I've even met a girl on social media, and I saw that she was going through it, and she went through it, and she was in college. And I could only imagine how she felt, like I was out of college, and it was a different situation for me. So I can only imagine. And I just reached out to her because her name, she had the same last name as my mom. And I believe that we're related, just because of the demographics of her grandparents and my grandparents. But I would never have met her if it wasn't for social media. And I think that's when the importance of genetic testing comes in too, because you can get screened, your family can get screened. I know we don't want to know if we have a gene connected to cancer, but sometimes it's good to know these things so we can talk about it, so we can prepare.
Yes, because preparation is key. If you prepare for something, there's nothing that can stop you. You can have a plan A, B, C, D, Z, and then start it all over again. I mean, like, we can't continue to be afraid of the unknown or what could happen, because guess what? If something is wrong, then you have to just go with the flow. And if you're prepared, then you know what you can do, what are your options, and it won't be as bad on you mentally, thinking about it, worrying about it, and you'll be able to have that support system in place. And it's more of a thing where you can stay connected with people. So after finding out that you were experiencing breast cancer, what was your initial reaction?
So they take you through a few things, like when they feel like something is wrong. So like I had a mammogram done, and it was just like a coincidence that I got it done because I'm young, and they don't offer mammograms to young women. You can get breast checks, but they don't offer mammograms per se. But I was complaining to my gynecologist, and he was so, I don't know if I would call him arrogant or what, and he just wrote the prescription, whatever. But I thank God that he did, because when I went to the facility and had the mammogram, they can see that something was not right, and the lump started to get bigger. And so I had a biopsy. I had an ultrasound, and then I had a biopsy to determine if it was, in fact, cancer. And when I found out, I was, in total shock. I was kind of, trying to prepare myself for what if it is. But I was at work, and the doctor called because the biopsy results was supposed to take maybe, I can't remember, a few days, I know. And the doctor called, and he left a message on my phone, and it was like, you have your biopsy results, not the full report back, but just, I got a call, and I think you should bring a family member with you. And I'm like, it's 5 o'clock. He's left a message. I can't call back and talk to someone. So that whole day, I spent worrying. So I went in the next day and got the results. I was devastated, but I saw the fight that my grandmother had, and I told my mom that we were going to get through this. Like, this is just something that we have to deal with. Like, I'm not going to give up, like, I'm going to fight this. But it was very hard to digest in the beginning. Like, I think I cried for a few days, and before I decided to post it on social media, I reached out to my friends and just told them, because I didn't want them to find out, from any other source but me. And I shared it with my family, and we basically just came up with a plan. But when I was first diagnosed, basically the doctor made my decisions for me. I was only 28, and life was falling in place for me. But when I was diagnosed, he told me, okay, we already have you scheduled for surgery. No thought into it, not these are your options. And it was something that didn't really sit right with me. So after sharing with my family and my friends, they, my aunt worked in a hospital, and she knew of a lady whose daughter had gone through breast cancer at a young age. She was 25, and she gave me her doctor recommendations, and so I was able to get a second opinion. I'm so glad that I did, and I want people to know that you have that option. I mean, I know cancer is serious, but it probably has been there for a minute, and you have time to get a second opinion if you don't feel comfortable with what the first doctor is telling you. Because had I gone on with what the surgeon had already decided for me, I don't know, what situation, I would have been in now. I feel like I had control. It was a thought process. I was able to get treatment through University of Miami, and I'm still getting treatment through them now. So I feel like if I never would have ventured off through that avenue, I wouldn't have the resources to the clinical trials that I've had, So I'm thankful for everything that I've been through my journey, and the sense of, seeking that second opinion. But I had to internally digest everything, because you're young, so you're going to have to deal with surgery. One, I never had surgery a day in my life. And then talking about surgery to remove your breast or to remove tumors, women are attached to their breasts, women are attached to their hair. So I was going to have to deal with hair loss. And, oh, my God, now I'm comfortable with my hair. But when I first lost my hair, I was tripping. They tell you, of course, your first is the hair, the first thing that's going to go. With 3 weeks within your treatment, you're going to lose your hair. So I was, trying different products. I allow someone to cut my hair. I was just doing the most because I wanted to feel comfortable when, it all happened. I wanted to be prepared. And it's really no way to prepare, because after the hair fell out, I basically would torture myself wearing a wig to work, because I was dealing with hot flashes, and I just didn't want to, allow my job to be in my business like that. I worked in a call center, so it was more than one department, and I didn't want them in my business like that. But so I had to adjust, a lot of things I had to adjust. And there's so much stigma attached to cancer. Like you said, people just say, oh, they were sick. You never really know what the person had. You never really know what the person went through. So I'm glad that I have learned to embrace everything that I'm dealing with. Hair will return. You don't get your breast back, but, you can have the options of implants. There's other options for reconstruction surgery. So there are options available for all of your, issues that you have to endure.
Wow, that I can only imagine how you must have felt, especially with going through this, finding out, and like it was just like your life was just starting at that point in time with you graduating and moving back home and just like it was like, whew, I get to breathe for a second.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, all right, what's next? And then you find out that you were diagnosed with breast cancer. So one thing that I wanted you to define more for the listeners, what are exactly clinical trials, and how did you find out about clinical trials? Is it a different process for finding out about them based on the state that you live in, or where you go to get your treatment done at, or what's that like?
So I've learned that there are clinical trials for, I believe, every type of cancer diagnosis, and I believe that they are strictly attached to a specific doctor, more so specialist. So I didn't do any clinical trials for breast cancer per se, but I've done them for the leukemia, and my doctor actually referred me. So I assume that if you are in a clinic, university, like the University of Miami, once the doctors come to the conclusion that your treatment is no longer beneficial to you, which is what happened to me, you can, if they don't offer, you can ask them, are there any clinical trials that are more targeted to the type of treatment that I need for my situation, because the clinical trials are more targeted to, you have to have, I think there are qualifications, of course, with everything, but it's specific to your disease and specific to, like, your genetic makeup, the type of tumor you may have, the type of genes that you have in the case of leukemia, mutations that you have. So it's a lot of things that have to be taken into account. But I would say if you are in a situation where the doctor has said that the treatment isn't working for you, and you should ask if there are other options, if there are any clinical trials that you can participate in and that will be beneficial to you. And with the clinical trials, it is voluntary based. It's not forced. And the clinical trials are usually administered by drug companies, and some of the drugs are already approved for, let's say, the trial that I'm doing now. It's approved. One of the drugs is approved for acute myeloid leukemia, which is what I was diagnosed with. And there's also another drug, an IV form of treatment that is also approved, but the trial is to test them together to see if it will lower the leukemia cells at a faster rate. So it just depends on, like I said, what your specific diagnosis is. And I'm going to say that it's very important that you get involved in your treatment. I know when I was first diagnosed with breast cancer, I was like, I'm not researching anything on the internet, because internet everything is linked to cancer. Like, you breathe wrong, like you can misdiagnose yourself just by the misinformation on the internet. But get involved with, like, asking for your labs, copies of your labs, getting reports, like if you have any x-rays done. In my case, I get a lot of biopsies done, bone marrow biopsies, asking for the report just so that you can have it in your possession. We have medical records but, you know, like you want to have those things in your possession. So if you need to get a second opinion, you have those things, you know, handy that you can show, like, okay, this is what's going on with me. You don't want to be in the blind, basically, about yourself. So that's a way that you can start advocating for yourself just by being present in your treatment. But that's basically, I was going to say just how you basically get the clinical trials. So.
Okay. And that's definitely very, very true. You're not the first person I heard to say that with requesting your medical records. So when I first had my miscarriage and I was doing my research on things, because when I was in the hospital, they said something about, what did they say? They basically diagnosed me with one thing, and then when I went to my gynecologist, my OBGYN, they said, I don't think that was what was wrong with you, because we would have noticed it when you came in for your appointments and everything. So, because the hospital that I was admitted to was a different hospital that was actually where I went for treatment and stuff for my OB appointments and stuff. So when I started going to groups, so I went to Fertility for Colored Girls here in my area. They have a chapter, and so I was going there, and a lot of the women were saying, get your medical records, because I was I was the youngest person there, and they were like, wow, like you thought about coming to this group? Like, they didn't expect me to come there and be so vocal about my journey. And all of the ladies who were there, and they were saying they were doing IVF, and every doctor they went to, they've had all of their medical records, and they take them to this doctor and that doctor. And with the different chapters they go to, they try to figure out, okay, well, my doctor is telling me this, and let's compare stories and blah, blah, blah. And you tell me your doctor so I can try to go to that doctor if they've been helping you. So that is definitely something that is a really good thing to do, just because there's doctors out here misdiagnosing, doing wrong surgeries on people. And we need to definitely have all this stuff, like our ducks in a row.
Like don't put all of your trust into these doctors. I mean, of course they've had the education or whatever, but they're human just like everyone else is. So just do your research.
And what they might think is morally and ethically right isn't always how we feel. So we have to be level-headed with ourselves, even if we're going through something that might seem like the most awful thing in the world. We have to have a clear head when it comes to it, because like you said, people go on the internet and misdiagnose. That's just like everybody. You see the memes on social media. They're like, you start coughing, then you go type in bad cough with a lot of mucus. Oh, I got bronchitis. I got pneumonia. I'm losing a lung.
Exactly.
So through all of this, what was your motivation to stay positive, especially knowing that this was an obstacle that God placed in front of you?
I think it had to do a lot with my upbringing. I had a lot of reassurance from my family. Like, they made sure that I just not dwell on the situation so much. I made sure I stayed busy. I made sure I attended church often, just for mental clarity, good affirmations. I also worked. Like I said, I was able to work during breast cancer, so I just did a lot of normal things and tried to live life as normally as I could. I didn't let cancer define me, so I was still being my normal self. I gave myself a lot of grace, and I listened to my body. When I needed to rest, I would rest. and I just surrounded myself, like, with my friends. They were really supportive. They're not the type of friends that let you drown in your misery, so they kept me grounded. We laughed, we joked, just keeping your focus, on the goal. Like, we're gonna beat this. This is just a temporary being. Like, this is not something permanent. Like, this is something that we can work through. So I think that helped a lot. And like the whole staying busy thing is definitely like, I really push that. Like, try something new. You could pick up a new skill. Like, you can do, like a whole bunch of stuff. Like, actually being diagnosed with breast cancer or cancer period has allowed me to, like, just look into different things. Like, not being stagnant with, one option. Like, just venturing out, doing different things, because it's like, it's kind of like a race against time. Like, okay, I'm dealing with this, and no one is promised tomorrow, so I'm going to go out and live for today, like, just continuing to push.
Yeah, and I like that you said to try something new, because once you're trying and doing something new, you're working in all different parts of your brain, and you're meeting new people. You never know who you might come in contact with, and it's like when you're doing something new, you don't have time to be upset and worried about what's going on, and time is flying by. Once you're doing something fun, then it's like, oh, I got cancer. All right, so that was something of the past. I'm here doing something new. So what was your favorite quote, affirmation, or Bible scripture that you used throughout your process, and still now that you live by, especially when times get rough?
I used to have this thing in my room. It said, life is not about waiting for the storm to pass. It's learning to dance in the rain. And I think that's, like, completely true, like what we were talking about. Don't dwell on what's wrong with you, but dwell on what's right with God. Like, trust and believe that He is going to, like, push you through. I think when you're diagnosed with, like, any type of disease, the more you dwell on the situation, I think the more you make yourself sick, to be honest. Like, just, like that, don't drown in your misery, because that affects your total well-being, like your healing process. So I would just say those are some quotes that I live by, and there's a whole bunch of affirmations, positive thoughts. YouTube has a whole bunch of just inspirational quotes, talks. The podcasts are really good. You can find podcasts that'll just get you through your day, get you pumped, get you, just get you going and let you know that, you are not defined by your situation.
And see, just your last sentence was basically what the podcast is about, and that's why I wanted you to be on here, because I wanted people to see that with you experiencing something very young, you did not let that step in the way of what you had going on and what you had planned for your life. And even though it's not going how you expected, it's going how God expected. And look how many people lives you're changing with the information you're putting out. You're putting out all of your videos when you're at the hospital, leaving doctor's appointments and stuff, whether somebody has cancer, whether they have some terminal illness, or they just have the dang on flu. If they look at your stuff, they're going to be like, all right, I'm going to get through this. If you can do it, I can do it. even somebody around here who just thumped they foot on the bed and they like, dang, I might have broke my toe. It hurt right now, but if Tiffany got through what she got going on, then I can get through this too.
So, and I like that too. Like, I get a lot of messages like that. You know, it's just about being grateful in your situation. It's so easily to complain about any and everything. But I've learned to, like, find gratitude in, like, the smallest things. Okay. Like, I didn't have traffic today. I'm always late to my appointments, though. But it's like, I didn't have traffic today going to my appointment. I didn't have to wait long today. They saw me right away. Like, just finding something good in your day. Like, we don't always have to give the negative things so much energy. Like, just shed some light on what happened good to you today. I was able to get my Chick-fil-A in only 5 minutes. The line wasn't right around the corner.
Girl, don't keep on Chick-fil-A. You know I love Chick-fil-A. And another thing is laughing. Oh, my God, laughing.
Yes.
Find a good show to watch.
Yeah.
Find a good Instagram comedian to follow and go watch their videos.
If, I don't know who's going to listen, but if anyone is listening that has been affected by cancer, these things will probably only be funny to us, but there's an Instagram page. It's called The Cancer Patient. And it has some funny memes, so sometimes I'll go on there and just laugh, laugh your situation off, because it's like real-life stuff that we go through, but it's just a funny way, of expressing it. So I would say go check them out on Instagram.
Yes, and with hunting the good, with me being in the military, it's a lot of stuff that, like, things that we do, and one of the things is hunting the good. Is like at the end of, say, if we have a training exercise that we do, and when we do our AAR, basically it's like the after action review. Like, it's basically like a survey, and everybody's saying what is good, what is bad, how can we improve, what can we sustain and stuff. We choose at the end of certain things, like, to hunt the good. Okay, what went good, what went bad, but more so focusing on the good things that happened during the day. And one funny thing is, oh my God, let me tell you, my auntie, she is the funniest person. You said talk about the small things and be grateful for the small things. This lady will drive to Walmart. She's staying in Walmart. I don't know why she don't own one right now. She will drive to Walmart. Oh, thank you, Jesus, for the close-up parking spot.
I'm trying to tell you, because Walmart be fat.
Packed, not okay. Packed, not P-A-C-K, P-A-C-Q.
Hype.
Yes, it is tagged. And it's just like, that's one thing she always says, thank you for the close-up parking spot. And it's just things like those to be grateful for, because guess what? You don't have to walk all the way from the back of the parking lot.
Exactly.
But who was your support system through your journey? I know you listed your family, your friends, but overall, once you start noticing that you were going through cancer and you got to a point where you were making that transition into this being something that was going to change your day-to-day routine, who was there for you?
My family and friends, like, I wouldn't trade them for anything in the world. I'm truly, truly blessed. Like, because when it was time for chemo appointments, we were showing up in groups, like packs, and I had someone with me every time I went to treatment. This time around, my mom is working more, so my grandmother is my ride or die. She is going to come to those appointments, and she is going to speak up when you don't speak up for yourself. She going to tell the doctors off if she feel like they're wrong. So I just feel like they have really been my backbone. Social media, of course, like people, like that I don't know, like that is like they, continue to give me good, encouraging words. But like I honestly have to give it to my family and friends. They took like a lot of weight off of me with me not working, like my full-time job. I do get disability, but as you know, like I'm young, I'm vibrant. I still have bills. I still have things that I want to do, and they just really help me financially. They help me pay for insurance premiums. And it's not always about the monetary things. Like I said, it's always good to laugh. So even if I'm having a bad day, and that's one thing too, we have to learn how to express our feelings because no one knows what you're going through if they have not experienced cancer. And if you continue to keep your emotions bottled in, you have to have some type of outlet. Like even if they don't understand, sometimes it's good to take your mind away from what what you're dealing with at that point. So when I was having a bad day, me and my friend, we went to a hockey game. I've never been to a hockey game, but that was so nice of her. Like I needed that day. Like I was having a rough day. I think it was during my breast cancer diagnosis. Like something happened. I don't know. But she took me out, and we just enjoyed ourselves. It's not all about monetary or what somebody can do for you financially, but just being there emotionally, like just being a listening ear. So I'm blessed to, have them and be able to express myself and to let them know, like, hey, I'm not having a good day. Like yesterday was a whole fiasco for me. And I was having a meltdown I was by myself. I was having a meltdown, and I just shot a text, like, I'm not having a good day, and they sent encouraging words, and that helped, it's okay to have meltdowns, but it's good to know that, you can reach out to people for strength as well.
Wow, that's great. So, how did your day-to-day life change once you found out your diagnosis and everything started changing? Let's walk through some things like that.
Appointments became life, okay? So, like, going to the doctor, like, I was, like, I get regular checkups, whatever, but, like, these appointments was, like, a full-time job, especially with leukemia and doing the clinical trials. There's more, like, treatment involvement, I feel like, with my leukemia diagnosis versus the breast cancer because I was only getting treatment every 3 weeks for breast cancer, so I was like allowed.
Let's take a break and hear a message from our sponsors. Hey you, why haven't you made your own podcast yet? Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. I'm telling you, you can make money from your couch, on vacation, sleeping, awake, upside down, on the toilet. It's easy. Easy as 1, 2, 3. Go ahead and download the Anchor app and get started today. Let's get back to the show.
Time to rest and recoup. But with this diagnosis, it's a lot of appointments, a lot to keep up with. Like I said, like I'm very involved in my treatment plan. Like I want to know the name of the medication. I want to know what it do. So like keeping up with that. I know my grandma always laughs. She's like, how do you, she's like, oh my God, I can't even pronounce none of this stuff. Like, how do you even keep up with it? And I was like, because, like, it's important to me. Like, I want to know. I don't want them to just tell me anything, and not being able to go back and look at it and say, okay, so this is what they said. And And then when I did radiation, like, it was just like a hustle and bustle thing. Like, it's something that I had to basically fit into my life. I was working, and when I did radiation for breast cancer, I had to drive at least 30 minutes away from my job to get the treatment, which was only like 10 minutes, and then drive all the way back to my side of town to go home. So, like, just having to, like, incorporate these daily doctor visits into my schedule. And, I mean, they can become kind of draining. So I had to adjust, with that. And then this time, fighting the leukemia has been like a complete roller coaster. So the day I was diagnosed, I was hospitalized the very next day to start the treatment. And so since then, I was diagnosed with leukemia in 2017. So I haven't worked in a year. And we can kind of talk about the leukemia versus the breast cancer diagnosis. I got leukemia because of previous treatment for breast cancer. Some drugs, as we know, have side effects. And one of the side effects with one of the drugs that I had during my breast cancer treatment is leukemia, but there's a very low risk, and I just so happen to be within the 1%. And so just 3 short years of surviving breast cancer or being in remission with breast cancer, I was diagnosed with the leukemia. And so since that day that I was diagnosed, I haven't worked. And so being a previous healthcare employee, like, I was in the hospital, and being sick and working in a hospital is not the ideal place. So me returning to work was not a thing. So I had to learn how to put my time into other things, things that were going to produce me more income while I was getting treatment, just being able to focus on my health and not really worrying about reporting to a job. And like I mentioned, I do get disability, so that was a blessing as well. And that comes with being vocal, because had I not shared the leukemia experience, like, I met so many people, and, like, it's so weird about the people that you meet and the things that people, go through. Like, you never know until you are affected by it. And so, like, a girl that I met randomly on Instagram, she told me to apply for the disability, way ahead of time so that I can go ahead and get it approved, so that when everything is all said and done, I have that to lean back on. And I was able to get paid through my short-term disability from work for a while. And when that, when that ended, the, like, disability kicked right in. So that's another, thing about sharing your journey, because you never know, like, how someone can help you help yourself. Also, I, like, being diagnosed, like, it made me look into my health more and the way I ate. Though I had the family history of breast cancer, I'm starting to learn more and more, like, I think our generation, including yours, are being more aware of the things that we put in our body, the things we expose ourselves to, like what you put on your skin, just being more aware of those things, like, because I read somewhere that we all have cancer cells living dormant in our body, and what you expose yourself to puts you at a higher risk. So if you're, like, eating poorly all the time, and I also read somewhere it was like occasional, will get you to that point too, like, you indulge sometimes, but I think you should have balance. But just being mindful of the things that you're exposing yourself to, like, maybe limit your drinking or limit your bad food choices. So I started doing, like, more natural things. Like, I've incorporated so many things into my diet that I probably would not have done had it not been for the situation. And just being able to adjust living with cancer. Like you can't go to you can't be at every event. But like I said, I'm young and vibrant, but I've learned to listen to my body and know when I have to turn, down invitations to things, and just, how I'm exposing myself. So that's pretty much how life has changed. Like, I'm still the same person. Like, I'm thankful that I'm able to drive still, take myself to my appointments if I have to. I can still go get my nails done, like simple things like that. I'm just thankful that even though I've had day-to-day change, I'm still able to do things normally.
Yes, and I'm glad you're able to too, because I can only imagine people who are that experience leukemia and breast cancer, how if it was on a worse stage, they probably are. I don't know how their body would feel, but if not being able to drive, I would feel vulnerable mentally, just because it's like, oh my God, I don't want to just like have to depend on anybody. It's like stripping you of your independence,
right?
And the fact that you were was speaking on the fact that you were able to get disability and stuff, and you were able to still have a source of income. Let's talk a little bit about, you have two businesses, and it's your last company, and you're a independent distributor for It Works. Was entrepreneurship your dream job growing up, or how did this come about?
No. I never thought about being an entrepreneur ever. I don't know why. It's just like, I think it's talked about more now. I mean, there are people who grow up in families that have family members that are entrepreneurs. It's just never been on my radar. But right before I got diagnosed with breast cancer, I was working. I told you that I got a job, and I was working, but I was not getting paid master level pay, okay? And it was, like, hard for me to find a job, just hard to find a good paying job. I feel like the city was saturated, like with people in the healthcare field, and basically if you don't have the experience, it's going to be hard for you to get a job. And if you don't know anybody, it's definitely going to be hard. Like I said, I had an aunt that worked in the healthcare field, and so she got me my first job. But like I said, I wasn't being paid the master level's pay. And as a graduate, you feel entitled, like, oh, I went to school, and I should be able to, like, why can't I take this extravagant trip? Like, why can't I buy this extravagant bag? Like, why can't I afford, like, I put in my time, to, go to school, and I should be coming out making a ton of money. And that's not always the case. So, like, actually, me and my friends planned a trip to go to Greece. And I was like, oh, my gosh, like, how am I going to afford to go to Greece? I was like, but we going, like, whatever, we going to go. I was like, I'm going to start saving my money. Like, it was months in advance, I would be able to save some money. But I was like, dang, I still got bills. It's going to be hard for me to save. And I was introduced to It Works from somebody I went to college with. And, she was telling me how she works from her phone and she's able to make extra income. And I was like, okay, cool. So I'm going to join, and I'll use that money to save for my trip. And, I mean, I've been doing it for almost 2 years now, and I'm very thankful for this business because, like I said, I'm on a fixed income, and this allows me to make uncapped income just by using social media. And it's not anything too hard because I remember when I first started looking for jobs to save that money, I was like, how am I come from work at a hospital dealing with these people I did end up switching jobs. So I was a financial counselor. So I would have to go up to the rooms of patients, sick patients, and ask them to pay their copays or ask them to pay their delivery fees. And so it was like kind of stressful. So how am I going to come from my 9-to-5 job and then go get a part-time job and clock in and work over hours or overnight and probably have to give up my weekends, and I really wasn't willing to do that. So this was like the perfect opportunity. And then when I got diagnosed with leukemia, I was like, okay, cool. So I'm not working at all. So I want to do something different. And the beauty industry continues to grow. So I was like, okay, let me try a lash class because they seem like they make a lot of money. Like, people pay whatever for beauty enhancements, you know? So I was like, I think it'll be something I'll enjoy. So I just went and took the certification class. And I just thought about, you know, ways I would be able to give back or, you know, doing things that you can use to give back. Like in the beauty industry, you're going through chemo, you lose your eyelashes. And I remember the feeling that it gave me when I got my lashes done after losing most of them, you know, due to the treatment. So that kind of is how my entrepreneurship began. And like I said, it has opened up like different perspectives. Like, everyone is not meant to have a traditional job. There's a lot of money to be made out here. It's all about networking and connecting to the correct people. And that's pretty much it. That's how that went.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you tied in the reason for you starting your lash business because of what you were going through, and you wanted to feel beautiful yourself, and you thought about all the other people who might have been going through the same thing that you were going through and how this could help them as well. I know from my experience with my grandmother, she had cancer of the bile duct. And it was around the time when Whitney Houston and Michael Jackson died. Because I remember watching the BET Awards. I was taking out her braids, and I think I didn't know. I don't know if I knew she had cancer. I think that's right after we found out that she had cancer, and I was in middle school, and I was taking out her braids because my grandma would always wear sewing-ins and stuff, and so I was taking out her braids, and like I started crying because her hair started falling out, and like her hair was falling out so bad. It was just like, I don't know if you've seen like someone who has alopecia, and I was just like, oh my God, like I'm just like, me being young and always having long, like ever since I was little, long, thick hair, and I'm just like, wow, like this is my grandma, like can I give her some hair or something? Like it was just like really crazy to me because I didn't know how to feel. I felt like numb at the point. And then when I saw her, like my grandma used to wear lashes too. She used to wear the lash strips. And so when one day she was getting off from work, and this was like she was far into her cancer. This was like before she died. And she was getting off from work, and we were at my great grandma's house. And she was getting out the car, and she was taking off her lashes. And she took off her lashes, and it was just bald. And I was just like, oh my God, like, where is my grandma? Like, I was like, this cancer is just taking over her. And I I was just like, I can only imagine how she feels, and it's just like hard to even think. Like me being a person who's always had like I'm not vain or anything, but I've been appreciative of like my hair, and I don't have long lashes. My lashes are pretty thin. They're yeah. They're so small. Like I feel like I always put on mascara. I never get my lashes done, but I always put on mascara. But I'm just like, I really appreciate the things that I was born with, and even not having like been through cancer or losing this particular like physical feature. It just really shows you to be appreciative of it. So I'm just like, wow. So what can other African Americans do to help others who battle with leukemia and breast cancer?
I think that we are becoming more open about it, and I hope to continue to see more awareness. I run into a lot of campaigns on Instagram, like with people promoting awareness for Black women, because, like I said, we are not really the face of it, especially young women. I ran over a campaign that's being started yesterday, and it's just the girl, she wanted to share her experience with radiation, because she said when she Googled pictures of the scarring, it was no pictures to represent her. I think that we're doing a good job. I think we're becoming more open. I'm not sure if it's because I was affected by it, but it seems like, yeah, like you were saying, like everyone knows someone that knows somebody that's been affected. And I just think that we should continue to do our research, ask questions, like we talked about, sit down and talk to your family, learn your family history. I think that's the downfall in our community. Like we talked about, like we don't talk about, important things as a family. And like I mentioned, there's genetic testing that you can do. I learned, too, that during this process, a lot of African American people do not get genetic testing. And so what that kind of does is like it's data, being collected on everyone carries different genes. And I remember getting my genetic testing, and on my results, like there's a gene on my results, and the genetic counselor said that there was not enough information on the gene to determine anything, and they concluded that with not a lot of African Americans being tested. So I think that we can start doing that. What else? Get involved. Like, make sure you're doing your self-checks. Be an advocate for yourself. You know your body better than anyone else does. Trust your instincts, and it's okay to get more than one opinion. With leukemia, it's like a whole different ballgame. Like, I'm still learning so many things. And I feel like it doesn't affect you until it affects you. So, like, leukemia has never been on my radar. Like, I don't know if I probably heard of it here and there, but, like, not so much. So where breast cancer is more tumor-related, this is actually, like, mutations of your cells, like your genetic makeup. It has something to do with that. So I would say ask your doctor questions, like have them explain, so that you can understand, so that you can relay information to your family so that they can understand. And that's why I'm, like, very involved in my treatment, because I want to be able to tell, my parents and my family, like, okay, this is where we stand. Like, this is what the disease is doing, and this is the obstacles that we're faced with. And like I mentioned, I've been fortunate enough to do the clinical trials, and I've gone into remission before with one trial, and I hope that this one does the same thing. But there's a lot of research being done, and new drugs are being released every day. And I know that we should not solely depend on modern medicine. Like, of course, do your research and look at your options. But in my very short time of being diagnosed with the leukemia, I've been able to go, like, I've been through various treatments. So what is not working for me, like, I've switched. Don't feel like you are, you have to do that treatment. Every treatment is voluntary. You don't have to do anything. So do your research. And I also, with the leukemia, I went through a bone marrow transplant. And I feel like as African Americans, or at least for myself, I'm going to speak for myself. I'm not going to say everyone else. I don't know. I guess growing up, you hear about bone marrow, probably like when I was in middle school, maybe high school, but that's not something that you hear about all the time. You don't hear about African Americans getting transplants, bone marrow transplants. And unfortunately, after the transplant, I did have a relapse, and so that's why I'm doing another clinical trial. But had I not had the transplant, my situation could be completely different. Like, so I think just being knowledgeable is very important. So I'm going to stress the importance of joining the registry as an African American. There's a National Bone Marrow Registry, and there's a need for a more diverse pool of people that are registered, because there are so many people that are not as fortunate as me to get a match so soon. So I didn't wait for a donor per se for a long time. It was more of me waiting for my disease to get into remission. So people are literally dying while waiting, and it's pretty sad. So I would encourage more African Americans, more Hispanics, more minorities to register with the bone marrow registry. And I have a text to register. I'll share it. If you text Tiff Strong to 61474, you'll be sent a link. And if you qualify, they'll send you a swab kit. It's like a cheek swab kit. It's very simple. All you do is swab your cheek and mail your DNA sample to complete your registration. It's, like I said, it's very easy. Now, it might take, days, months, years before you even hear, from anyone to actually be a donor. But the more people sign up, I believe the greater chance for you helping someone that is ill get a second chance at life. So that's basically what I am advocating now. I still try to, promote awareness for breast cancer, but there's so much information on that now. And so with leukemia and bone marrow transplants, I feel like there's not a lot of information or, your options. Like, I didn't even know that you can have a bone marrow transplant. They're doing bone marrow transplants to cure sickle cell. I've ran into, social media handles that people who have had the transplant to cure their sickle cell. So there's, so many ways, not just someone who's going through leukemia. You maybe, I don't know if you can get a donor from the registry for sickle cell. It may have to be a related person to you, if I'm not mistaken. But just, the procedure, to my knowledge, is not an expensive procedure, and knowing that you can potentially save someone's life is, a lot. It's very good. So I think I would encourage you guys to go ahead and get registered.
Okay, and what are some resources that people with cancer and leukemia should know about that you haven't mentioned in the episode? I know you've mentioned a lot of things, and it's just like people are probably going to be taking notes as you speak, rewinding it. Okay, she said this clinical trial. Yeah, let me put that. Let me call my doctor right now. Why you didn't tell me about this clinical trial? Because Tiffspirational told me about this. They was like, who's Tiffspirational? Guess what? She the doctor for the people. She's the people's doctor.
There are a lot of resources, and I know sometimes it's hard to find them. Some of the things that I use, American Cancer Society, definitely. I know they give Uber rides, transportation to your treatments, if you don't have anyone to go with you. The Lymphoma and Leukemia Society, they help pay for medical expenses based on your disease category. So lymphoma and leukemia are blood cancers, so they have a list of blood cancers on that site where they allocate money to. So I was able to get a $5,000 grant from them, which has helped me pay for medical expenses. There's also, I've used the Patient Advocate Program. Some of the programs do require you to have insurance, but they're it's called Patient Copay Relief Program, not Patient Advocate, Patient Copay Relief Program. And you have to have insurance, but they basically give you grant money to cover your copays, all of your out-of-pocket expenses up to a certain amount. I believe it's $5,000 as well. So I was able to use that to pay for some of my hormone therapy. I didn't share that, but I am on a continued treatment for breast cancer to make sure that my risks stay low. I'm doing hormone therapy, so it consists of a pill daily, and I get a monthly injection every 28 days. So when you mentioned the fertility for colored girls, I Googled it to make sure I looked to see if we have something like that here, because dealing with cancer, it can have an effect on your fertility. So I would like to look into that. And like you said, there's so many programs. Now that I'm thinking about it, there's an IVF program for those who have been affected by cancer. I think it's something like Armstrong. If you Google, let me see if I can Google really quick. Armstrong something. But they help you. They don't pay the full cost of your IVF treatment. It does help with some of the costs, and they refer you to, companies that they work with for a lower rate. And what else? I did, when I first got diagnosed, I went through an advocate program, and that is kind of what made me vocal about my journey and how to advocate for myself and others. It's called Living Beyond Breast Cancer. They're based in Philly. They actually have a program coming up that you can sign up for. They offer a travel grant, so you can basically go to Philadelphia for free. During that time, I was able to meet other young women who were going through breast cancer at an early age, and we just discussed, our feelings, what we're going through. I met people that were in different stages of the diagnosis, the breast cancer diagnosis can go up to stage 4, which is considered terminal. So that was my first time meeting young women that were dealing with a terminal cancer. So check them out. And I recently, so I've never really done the whole support group thing because I had the family and friends. But for those who don't, or maybe don't have that support, I recently joined a community, and they're on Instagram. It's called Cancer Who. They're based in Philadelphia as well, but they have a little support group that we do via Zoom. And we just talk about current events. We share our stories. Like, it's very informational. We can bounce ideas off of each other, how you feel about certain things and how do you feel like these things will affect you. So those are a few of the things, but there's so many resources that you can search. I know it's kind of hard to find, so you guys can follow me on social media, and I'll help you look for. I just can't think of all of the resources, but even being a part of the advocate program with Living Beyond Breast Cancer, they provide you with resources that you can look into.
Okay, so what is some advice that you would give men and women who are facing the same illnesses as you or illnesses in general, and they might not know how they can feel hopeful and stay motivated within themselves, or the people around them might not be as supportive as your family and friends. So how can you transfer the energy and motivation from yourself to others?
I would say that there is at least one person that's going to support you. And even though I had like a group of family and friends that supported me, I have friends that I've known that never reached out to me, so I don't think you should focus on the size of your support, at least if you have that one person, and listen to motivational, videos on YouTube. Listen to motivational music. Like, there's a lot of gospel inspirational songs that you can listen to. It's okay to cry it out, but don't, let your illness define you. Get up and fight every day. Like, every day is a new chance at life for you to fight. So don't, in spite of what's going on or what you're faced with, take that trip if you can. I've never done solo traveling, but if that's something that, you don't want to wait on somebody to go to your, what you have on your list, travel by yourself. Make memories with your family and friends. Like, don't dwell on what's going on. Don't dwell so much on what's going on.
How did your journey bring you a peace of mind?
Actually, like, knowing that I'm able to help others just by sharing. I feed off the energy that, I get from people, and I think sharing has been therapeutic for me. I don't sugarcoat anything, and I'm not going to say it's easy, because it's definitely not. Like, every day is like a fight. Like, I just give myself grace. I've learned how to just take my time. Like, I know when I get on Instagram sometimes and I'm videotaping myself late to my appointment, and somebody said, "Girl, you need to get there on time," and I was like, "Listen, they will be there, okay? It's a struggle for me, and I'm not gonna rush and get myself, hot and bothered about getting to an appointment that is going to have you waiting potentially for hours." So whatever it is that you have in your control, take control of that. Like I said, speak positive affirmations over yourself. Trust and believe that you are healed. Your thoughts and your tongue are very powerful, and those things that you speak onto your life happen. So don't be negative. Just try to think about, life before cancer. Like, think about the things that you wanted to accomplish before you got diagnosed, and still go after those things. Just because you have a diagnosis doesn't mean that it's the end. Like, if you were in school, go back to school. If you want to, like, I consider going to cosmetology school. It's something different. It's something added to the lash thing. Like, just little different things. Just continue to do do things that, will ease your mind.
Let's have some fun.
So, what is your favorite food?
I don't know. I don't think I really have a favorite. I just like to eat. Well, let me tell you that. I like tacos. Like, tacos are life. So I'm going to say tacos.
Oh, my God. You're a taco fanatic. What's your favorite tacos?
I don't know. I'm just a regular old taco person, but I just like to eat. I don't know. I like to eat tacos. There's this place here that I was introduced to, and I was like, oh, my God, these tacos are so good. And they have, like, fresh guacamole. I'm like, oh, my God. Like, I could have tacos every day. It don't even matter what kind.
Oh, you sound like with me and Chick-fil-A. So, who is your favorite singer?
I don't know if I have a favorite singer. Like, I listen to a lot of R&B. I like rap music. I don't know. I can't get with this new age rap stuff. I could barely understand what they're saying. But as far as performers, I like Beyonce and Chris Brown. I feel like they give you like a full show. You get your money's worth. They're gonna dance and sing the whole show. So as far as performers, I'll say them.
Oh, my God. I'm not a Beyonce fan, but we're going to say Beyonce. Oh, don't let
So you didn't watch Homecoming?
No, I did not. My mother watched it. But, no, I stepped out of the room. I just can't. But Beyonce, she's too over the top for me.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, she is over the top for me. And what are 3 things that are on the top of your bucket list?
That's crazy that I don't have one. I've been talking about it for a long time, like ever since I got diagnosed, that I was going to make a bucket list. I saw this girl who went through cancer, and she made her one, and I never made the list. I put a few things, like, as far as traveling. So I would just say, like, just doing more traveling when I'm able to. Like, I'm kind of restricted with doing that because of the leukemia diagnosis. But whenever I get a chance to, that's what I like to do.
You could be an animal. What animal would you be?
I'm going to take an elephant because they possess strength, they have patience, and wisdom.
Different. I've never had anybody. Everybody always usually says giraffes, turtles, things like that. But you're very different for that. So, what are 4 random fun facts about you?
I was in a marching band in high school. I played the clarinet. I'm currently learning a few chords on the ukulele, so that has been a part of. They offer at the hospital. They offer different types of therapy, and that's a part of music therapy. And I enjoy it a lot. So I've been learning a few chords on there. I did tap and ballet as a kid. What else? I can't wait till my nephews grow up so we can hang out. So I'm a new auntie, and it's just exciting to watch him grow. So I can't wait till we can just, do auntie and nephew things.
Everyone find you on social media?
My Instagram is at Tiffspirational. It's TIFFSPIRATIONAL_. On Facebook, you can find me, Tiffany Renee. It's spelled RE_NAY. I have Snapchat, but I don't use. And occasionally I'll get on Twitter, but I don't really know my handle. But mainly Instagram. Instagram is where you can find me.
How can people get in touch with you for business inquiries, or if they want to be able to get you a part of their campaign and reach out to you in those senses?
My email is Tiffany, Tiffany .Davis, Davis 138 @gmail.com. This is Tiffany Davis, and you are listening to Peace of Mind with the Soul Koach.
Hey, you guys, I just want to let you know, thank you for listening to my episode, and you can keep up with us on Instagram at @your_peace of mind, me on my personal page at the Soul Koach, Coach with a K, and we're on Twitter at Keep Smiling POM. We're on YouTube at Peace of Mind with TSK. You can email me at yourpeaceofmind2016 @gmail.com. Let me see what else we got. You can find this episode located on Apple Music, Google Play, Spotify, everywhere, YouTube, on our channel, because we do drop it on there. And yeah, be sure to rate, review, give this episode a hand clap, give it a thumbs up, 5 stars, everything. Let us know what you want to hear, what episode, what features you want to hear on episodes, and let's keep it going. So, peacemakers, thank you for keeping this going, and #keep smiling.